It's time to make our chatbot fully functional. So right now we can click on the chatbot, and now in this video we're going to be able to now type on the input and say, I need help with, let's say, writing an email to a customer, and we hit enter. Now we get a message back. We see our message here, and then we see a message from the assistant. It says, I'm happy to help you. Could you provide me with some details? And now you can start talking to the assistant, and it will help you out with your task. Let's jump into the video. Welcome back to the next part of this tutorial. In this video, we're going to make our chatbot completely functional, including adding the OpenAI Chat Completion API. So right now we have all the UI cover for the chatbot, as you can see here. And we did this in the previous video, but right now we don't have any state for the input. All that we have is just a piece of state that is going to either show the chat or is going to hide the chat. So right now, let's start by looking into what we're going to do with OpenAI. And that way we can set up our state and our and everything else that we're going to need. So you're going to need your OpenAI account, and you're going to use an API key for this, just like we have done in the previous videos. And here we're going to use the Chat Completion API, and this one is going to allow us to send the user message, and we're going to get a response from the API back to our user, and we're going to display it in the chat. So basically, you can go to the documentation here and you can read slowly about this. Actually, there's a new model that just came out, I think today or yesterday, is the GPT-4o Mini. And we're going to be using this one because it's cheaper and it's faster than the GP 3.5 Turbo, which I was using in previous videos. So if you still want to use the other one, that's fine, but this is cheaper and faster, so I want to start using this one right away. So for the message, what we're going to need, basically this is an overview, but for the message rows, we're going to have three different ones. We're going to have either the system, user, or the assistant, which is our AI or chatbot. So the system message is optional, and it can be used to set the behavior of the assistant. So you can tell the ChatGPT or OpenAI that you want the chatbot to be a IT, help desk, or you want to set the persona of the chat or the chatbot for whatever use you want to do. And we're going to do that one so we can learn how to set it up. And we're going to use some of the examples here just for the first part. Then we can come back and change it a little bit. Then we have the user message, which is what the user is asking. So the request or the comment that the user needs to send to the assistant or to the chatbot. And then the assistant is the message that is going to be created and sent back to the user as the response. In here, there's a link so you can see some examples for the different inputs, but we're going to use the example one. But take a look at this so you can learn more about how you can set up more of a persona to the chatbot. So down here, we are going to get started. So in our application, we're going to need to install OpenAI. So we're going to open up a terminal here. We're going to stop the server. We're going to do npm i OpenAI. We're going to hit enter, and we're going to wait for that to be installed. And this is what we're gonna do in the back end, and some of this in the front end as well. So we're going to need to import OpenAI, create a new instance, and then we're going to use the Chat Completion API to create a new chat, and we're gonna have messages. We're gonna set the model to the new one, this one, the GPT-4o mini. And actually I have a link here that also has all the new models. This is the new one. This one came out like today or yesterday. It's more affordable. I read about this today, and is cheaper as well. I was using before this one the GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is fast, but this is faster. So we're gonna use this one, that one for this example, or for this app. So there's more links to the APIs, but we're gonna set this up right away. And also this is how the response is going to look. So it's gonna be an object, and then it's gonna have choices, and inside of the choice is gonna be an array, and we're gonna have one message. We're gonna look at the message, and then we're going to look at the content, which is the actual response, and then it's gonna have a row of, so we can identify who this message belongs to, who created this message, so the assistant or the user. So this is how we can access the content, and there's a few more links in here and a few more parameters that you can customize to the API call. So you can set at the length, the stop characters, or anything you want to set up in here. So let's get started. Let's head back to the application, and let's run the backend server again. And make sure you have your account and you have your API handy. You can look at a previous project and you can copy it from there. All right, so back into the chatbot here. We're going to create let's do a new state for the user message. So let's see, for the user message here, let's do const square brackets user message, and this is going to be the state where we're going to hold what the user is typing, and set user message use state, and that is going to be empty strings. We are also going to need, let's have a loading state, because we're probably going to need that. Set a loading if we need to display some loading state, which we normally do. Set it to false. But more important, we're going to create an array of messages and set messages, and we're going to set that to use state, and we're going to say this is going to be an array, and we're going to initialize in the array. We're going to start with one message inside of the array. So in here, each message is going to be an object, just like we saw back in here. Let me see, let me make more space here so we can see that in there too. Let me hide the terminal. It's going to give you more space. So back in here, right, we have each message is going to be an object. We're going to have a row, and the row for this one, this is going to be the row for the system. So with the system, what we could do is that, or not the system, let's do in here, let's just do the row for the assistant. So we're going to have an initial message, which is going to be pretty much what we have in here right now, like, hello, how can I help you? So this is going to be the initial message that we're going to show. We're going to say, hello, how may I help you today? anything you want. Cool. So this is our initial message. And in here, oh, I need to, I forgot the key here. So we had the row and then content. So this needs to be a key value pair. So we need quotes, colon, this is content. Oh, we don't need that. Content right here. Now this is matching what we have. So we got a row, which is system in this example, but we're going to be doing this one, row system, and then content is the actual string. So the message we have here. Cool. So now that we have an array of messages, we can go into the chat container section here, and we could map over the messages now, and we can cut this from here. Let's do curly brackets. We can say messages and messages that map. So we're gonna map over the messages. We're gonna grab each message. I'm just gonna say M, and for now I'm gonna do index, and then we're gonna do a arrow function here like so, and we're gonna check, let's say return. We're gonna check if the message that row equals to assistant. We are going to check if this is true. If it's true, we want to render the bot message, and we want to spread the message to this component. So we're going to pass the message to there so we can display the data inside, and we're going to set the key to I for now. Else we're going to render a user message, and we're going to do the same. We're going to spread the message, which is going to give us the row and the content, and then we're going to set the key to I in here. So right now we're getting all this red underscores here. So let me see, because we have map, I think I miss here. I think I'm missing a curly bracket here, a parenthesis there, and then a parenthesis here between these two. There we go. Okay, so now if this is working, let's look at the app in here, save it, refresh, make sure my server is running, is compiling. All right, so finish compiling, we can open this up, and we only see the first message, right? Because we only have one. And the one we have is from the assistant, and we have this message here. Hello, how may I help you today? Is this how can I help you? So let me see, let me refresh this again. My computer is running super slow. Come on. Let me stop the server real quick again. Run it back up. Localhost 3000. Okay. And okay, so we still see that message because this is still the hard-coded text that we have inside of the component. So this is actually doing fine. So we are getting a bot message, but the message, remember we're spreading this here, but we still need to go in here and we need to receive the information here, and then we need to update this here. So let's go in here and let's just take this structure and the row and the content, and this is saying the structure arguments are unused. That's fine. So where it says bot here, we're gonna display the row, and here we're gonna display the actual content, and we're gonna save it. And now here we go, we got the assistant and we got hello, how may I help you today? So that's fine. Right now we have a TypeScript error that says row implicitly has type any, and that is because we need to set some props in here. We also need to set a type for the message as well, just so we can protect against any errors that we can introduce later. So let's go to the user message and let's do the same. Let's destructure row and the content. Let's display the row here. And let's display the content in here. Cool. So if we had another object in here that says user, we will have one for the user, one for the assistant. That's fine. So let's just delete this one. We just need one, which is the initial one that we're gonna see here. Cool. So let's work with setting up a type for our messages. So in Chatbot, let's go at the top here outside of the component, and let's declare, let's just do export type message, and let's set that to a new object or curly brackets. And we're gonna need, each message is going to have a row, right? We need a row which is of type string, and we need, actually the content is gonna be a type string, and we're gonna set the row to be either user or assistant or system. And this is a pipe. There we go. So each message should have a content of type string, and the row can only be user, assistant, or system. So that way they don't get set to anything else. So now we can use this type here to the array of messages. We can say that this array of messages is an array of type, where is my what am I looking for? These less than and greater than sign, and we're gonna set the type to a message. So an array of message. And then as soon as we do that, if we hover over this, argument of type row, content is not assignable to parameters type message in here. And that is because we still need to put an array of messages, so we need square brackets here. Cool. All right, so we got our new type. That's fine. So now let's go and go back in here and work with setting the props for this. And by doing this, so we have an export here, so that way we can just import message. Whoops, not that message. Message. Let's try to type that again. message from //chatbot, and we can just say that this is of type, let's do colon message, and that will satisfy TypeScript. Let's do the same for the user message. So let's do import message, which is our custom type, and then we are going to go in here and colon a message, and TypeScript is happy, and this is even better. Cool. So we completed the bot message, user message, and what we need now will be the, let's go into the chat input, which we haven't done much in here. So from the chatbot, we need to pass it down the user message state here, and we also need to pass the set user message to the input, to the chat input, so we can set it to the form. So in here, let's go and say user message is going to be the user message, user message, nope. What are we looking at? User message, what do we call it up here? Oh, use message is user. I have a typo here, user message and set user message. So this is what we want to set. That's why it wasn't showing up. User message. User message is not assignable to type. That's fine. We take care of TypeScript in a second. And we're going to pass set user message to set user message, and that's fine. Let's go, and we need a handle submit for when this is submitted, so when the user hits send. So let's just create a handle submit, or let's call it, let's say const handle send message, and let's just do a arrow function for now, and this is going to, let's just pass it down for now so we can set that up on the submit on the form. So send user message, is that what I call it? I just handle send user message. Cool. So that's good. This is all being passed to the chat input. Right now we're getting a TypeScript error, and we can fix that in the props in a second here. So let's go in here and let's put some speed at the top. This structure here, we're gonna take in the user message and in the set user message and in the handle send message, and we're going to create a new type here. Let's say type chat props, so we can take care of the types now. So we're gonna say there's gonna be a type chat props, and then in here we're gonna define each one of these. So user message is simple, it's just gonna be of type string, so a string. Then we're gonna need the set user message, and that one is a function that is not going to return anything, so we're going to say void, so that means it doesn't return anything. And the parameters here it will take in some values, the new string. So we can just say value of type string. So the value will be any string that we want to set the user message to. And the last one, we're going to say handle send message is also a function, doesn't return anything, so it's void here. And this one is going to take in the event. So we're going to say E, and this is going to be a type of form event, and this is going to be imported here at the top. And now everyone is happening here. So now we can use these safely inside of the component. So in the input, let's set excuse me. So let's set the user message to the value here. So let's just put it in here. So value for the input will be the user message. And we also going to say on change. So when there's a change on the input, we want to call let's pass an arrow function, and the arrow function is going to call the set user message, and we're going to pass e.target dot value. It's not a dot. And right now this is giving us a cannot find E, so in here we can take in E or the event, and that's fine. So we take in the event and we call the set user message to either target that value. Cool, that's fine. That's everything we need to do here. Now on the form, the handle send message is going to be called when there's a on submit event, and we're going to call handle send message, which right now doesn't do anything, but we're just passing it down from the chatbot component down to the chat input component. Let me format this so we can look a little bit better. We got our type, we have our props, and then we have the form with the on submit. The input should be updating, so if we type here I need help, that is okay. It's submitting, doesn't do anything because we're not doing anything in the function, but that's fine. That's all we need to do now. So now it's time to head back to the chatbot and actually do something when there is a submit event on the form, so we can go ahead and send a message. So the handle send message is going to be a async function. Async. We're going to take in the event, and we're going to do e.prevent default, and it says implicit have type any. So here let's set the type of event to a form event. There we go. And then we can, at this point when the function gets submitted, we're going to prevent the default. Let's console log the user message. So let's say console log, let's just say user message. Let's console log the user message here. Cool. Let's do if there's no user message, we will return from here. And then we're going to, with that user message, we're going to create, remember each message is inside of an object. So here we're going to create a new message. So we're going to say const new message. And then it's going to be a type a message. So we can reuse our message type. And then in here, if we hover over this, is saying that is missing the following properties and the content and the row. Good. So we're going to set the row to be user or quotes user. Remember, it can only be one of these three values here. And right now we're creating the user message, and the assistant is going to come back to us as a response. And the system one, we're going to use it when we set up the persona of the chatbot. So let's set the content to the user message, and that's everything we need here. So let's just console log new message, so that way we can double check new message. Cool. You can put a comment here, create new message object. All right, so after that, we are going to update our UI because now we have the new message object. So after this, we are going to say, let's do update the message state. So we're going to say set messages, and we want to let's pass an arrow function to make sure this gets updated correctly. So we're going to take the previous messages and we're going to spread the previous messages, and then we're going to add the new message that we created in here. So previous messages is going to be whatever's here before. So this one is already one there, and then the new one will be added and it will be displayed there because we're going to update our state, and the state will cause a re-render. So after this, after we already got the array updated, we can set we're ready to make our API call. So in here, let's set the set loading. Let's set it to true. That will be a good location to do that. Let's put a try catch in here because now we need to work with making the API call. So let's just put a message here. Making let's say a request to OpenAI in here, whatever you want to say. So for the messages that we need to send to OpenAI, we need to send back the chat, of course, because it needs the whole chat so it can know the context, the conversation history pretty much of what the user is requesting, and what else we need to do here. Let's see. So for this one, right now, this here is basically to update our state. All right, so this is the initial hello that we're gonna say to the user, but we don't need to send this one to the OpenAI chat API. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna say, let's just say let's make a copy. So copy of messages. I'm gonna say const chat messages equals, and then messages, and then we're going to use a slide method, and we're going to start from index 1 all the way to the end, so just one, and that will make us a copy. We can just have a console log in here, chat messages, if we need to see it. There we go. So we can confirm that that's what we want. And then here we're gonna make the API call the API function, or the chat completion or chat API, chat completion API. And here's when we're gonna call a function that this is basically calling our backend. So we're going to add a new folder for our server actions, because we are in Next.js, so we can just go and create a new folder, and we can call it actions, and we can right click in actions, new file, and create index.ts. And inside of index.ts, all we need to do, we're gonna need to add the directive use server on this file. So this is pretty much our backend API, and we are going to have a export async function here, and this is going to be the chat completion function, where we're gonna send that is going to be making the request to OpenAI. So this is what we need to call back into the chatbot from the UI. So in here, we're going to say const res or response equals await chat completion, and it's going to be imported from the actions folder. So you can see it in here from the actions folder, the one we just created. And then in here, we need to pass it the, let's give them the chat messages plus the new, let me see, the chat messages. So we got this copy here, and set messages in here. Let's keep that one. Let's see. So in here, we create the new message, we update it, but then this is going to re-render, or is going to be added after the re-render. So just to make sure we're sending the new message, let's just pass in here, because this is going to be added after the re-render. So let's pass a new array, and we're going to spread the chat messages, and we're going to add in the new message at the end. And here, let's see what it needs. Expect the 0 arguments, but got 1. Yeah, this is because in the definition of the function, we're not taking any parameters, but we're passing an array. So that's fine. We're going to work on that in a second. But I want to keep the state separately, so it can update after the re-render. And then I want to make sure I have the copy and then the new messages there. And if there's any errors, we got enough console logs to see everything that's happening in there. So let's console log the response as well. Console log response, and we can say response in here. That's fine. Catch, let's just put a console log, and let's take in the error here. Console log the error for now. All right. So let's follow the data, right? So we're passing to the chat completion function, which we created back inside of the actions folder index.ts, we are passing a new array. So that array is going to have our messages, right? So let's import at the top. Let's import the OpenAI package, OpenAI for an OpenAI, because we need to make our API call. And let's import message, our custom type that we created from here. And then we need to create a new instance of the OpenAI, but we're going to do that in a second. So in the chat completion, right, we're sending the new array of messages. So we're going to receive that in here. So chat messages is of type message array. That's our type. And let's just console log it for now, and then we can check that the data is reaching all the way here. So let's say from backend we have the chat message array as chat messages. Makes more sense. Cool. So let's go back to the UI. So when we type something, let's say I need help with my PC or something like that. When we hit send, we're going to be submitting the form, which is going to call this handle send message. We're going to console log the user message. We're going to check this user message. We're going to build the user message object. We're going to add it to the UI, to the state, and then we're going to call our backend chat completion function or action or server action. And then we're passing the new array with the new message. And let's see our console logs. So let's open this console, and let's also open the console in the browser. And if I hit send, let's clear this up. If I hit send here, we have user message, I need help with my PC. This is the new object here. Content, user row, a row user, and then chat messages from line 45. And line 45 in here. Chat messages is empty because we're slicing the first one, which we don't need to send it. And there's no more messages here. That's fine. This is for the UI. But what we send here, this is why I wanted to do it separately. So when we call in our backend function, we can see the console log on this terminal. We see from backend, which is here, we have an array with the new message, row user. Content is I need help with my PC. Cool. So we're getting the data all the way to our backend. So let's hide this terminal. Let's close this up. And then let's go in here. We already had the OpenAI package imported. So let's initialize this. So we're going to need a .env. So create a new file all the way to on the root directory .env.local, and we're going to create a environment variable here. We're going to call it OpenAI underscore API underscore key, and we're going to set that equals to our API key. I'm not going to show you my API key, so I'm going to pause it and going to paste the API key. You can put quotes in here and paste your API key in here. I don't think it's required, but it's up to you. So just paste your API key inside of this two quotes. Let me pause and continue. All right, so I pasted my API key into my .env file inside of the quotes. So now we come back to the actions folder index.js, and we're going to initialize the OpenAI package. So we're going to say const OpenAI equals to a new open, in here, const OpenAI equals to a new OpenAI. Let's call it and pass in an object. And inside of the object, we need to set the API key here to process.env.openAI underscore API underscore key, and make sure this is the same spelling that we did inside of the .env file. And that's everything we need here. And now we are ready to make our API call in here. So remember, back into the documentation, you can set the persona of the assistant or the bot by sending a message with the role set to system. So we're setting the system to be a helpful assistant. That's kind of like a default value there. Let me give you more space here. Right, so let's just do the same here for now. So let's create a new variable called chat, set that equals to a new array, and then inside of the array we're going to set the first message is going to be in the how we're going to set the persona of the chatbot. So we're going to say row system, and we're going to set the system to be we're going to set the content. Come on, can see what I'm doing. Content, and then here we're gonna say you are a helpful assistant, and then all we need to do here is then spread the chat messages. Right, so these messages that we're getting here, we're just going to spread them inside of this new array. And then finally, we're going to reach out to the OpenAI API. So we're going to say const completion equals await OpenAI .chat completion is completions, and this is not uppercase chat, it's lowercase chat. Because it used the wrong one, so it's lowercase OpenAI .chat completion. So this one that we created here, and I put a lowercase I here. Let's just have everything consistent. So OpenAI .chat .completions, and then here we're gonna do a .create. There we go. And then here we need to pass an object, and here we can set the messages. So messages is a property here, and we're gonna pass in the chat array that we created here. And then we're going to set the model that we want to use. And like I said at the beginning, I want to use the new model. So here's the list of the models. So I was using GPT-3.5 Turbo before. I don't think the new one is here, but it's GPT-4o-mini, which is cheaper and faster. So let's try that out. And that's everything we need to set here. You can play around with the temperature and the other properties you have available to make it more to make the responses different, more creative, or I don't know, more whatever you want to change it. You can also set the max tokens you want, stop parameters, so if it encounters some type of symbol, it can stop, things like that. You're gonna use the same stuff in here and set it up in here. So this is going to get our completion done, and then we're going to, let's do a console log, and let's say completion, and then we're going to console log completion dot choices square brackets 0, and that's going to give us, this is the completion object, dot choices is this array, square bracket 0 is just this object in here, and it's going to have the message in there too. But let's look at the whole entire object that we get back. And then in here, for the final thing, we can say return completion. And this red squiggly line, you can ignore that. That was something that was deprecated, and this will work fine. Don't worry about that. So we're going to return our completion object back to, let me save it, back to here where we're calling the function, and we're calling that in here. We're console logging it in there as well. So let's give it a try. So let's head back to the application. Let's refresh. Open it up again. So we got the first default message that we set here. How can I help you today? So when we type, I need help with my PC. When we hit, let's open up the terminal here, and let's open the console here, clear this up, and hit send. And right now we're getting error 400 missing parameter messages, and I think that is because in here is messages instead of message, and that is still going to be read on this squiggly lines. It's still going to be there. Don't worry about it. Let's try it again. So let's hit send one more time. Let's clear this up and hit send. And here we go. Let's see what we have here. We have, okay, here we are still not updating with the response, so that's fine. But here, if you look at the response here, we have the object, the whole entire object with the choices, created, add an ID, model, and more information. And here in the completion, so in the backend, when we're console logging here, right, the object here, we can read the content. It says, sure, I'll be happy to help you with your PC. What specific issue are you experiencing? Let me know what the problem is, and we can work together. And that's it. That's the, and the row is the assistant. This is the OpenAI response that we got back. So now we got that message in there that we can now update our UI for the user to see it. So let's go back to the chatbot here. So we're done in the back end pretty much. Here we can say, have a little description here. We can say chat completion. We can close this up. Chatbot here. So we're here. We're console logging the response. So in here, let's handle the response. So handle And then here we're going to check if response dot choices square bracket 0 dot message. So if this is true, whoops, choices. So if this is true, if we got a if we got some choices, if we got the message back, so if that object is that's true, if that is not null, we are going to, let's clear up the chatbot input, so we can call the set user message back to empty strings. And then we can say const system message. So here we're going to create a new system message of type message, and we're going to set that equals to an object, and we're going to set the content to res dot choices square bracket 0 dot content, and then we're going to set the row to assistant. There we go. That's how it is. What's going on here? So property content does not exist on type choices. Let me see. Res dot choices square bracket 0. That message is that message dot content. And what is this here? Content is a type string. This could be null. We can just say a string here. We know it's a string, so just take it as a string. And when we have this is the new assistant message. This is this message that we got back from the response. We can now set the message, so we can update our state here. And we can say new array. We're going to spread messages. And we're going to add the assistant message at the end. And in here, let's just finish up here. We're done here. Let's just have, if there's an error, or let's say API error, so we know something went wrong making the API call. And then here we can do a finally, I gotta turn this off. Finally, we're going to set loading to false. And pretty much we are done. So let's just test this out. Let me refactor this or reformat the document. So pretty much this is why I didn't want to have too much of the UI here, because we are getting already a large amount of code in here. So let's test this out to finish up. Let's say we get this first message. Hello, how may I help you today? I need help with my PC. And let me spell this correctly. And hit send. All right, it says, of course, what specific issues are you experiencing with your PC? Let's say I have a blue screen. Hit send. Let's see what it says. And let's see if we got any errors. Oh, no, that just was taking a little bit of time. And here we have a whole entire description. So a blue screen commonly refers to a blue screen of death, and here will tell you everything that you can do, different steps. 7, 9, check the system logs. 10, so give you a whole lot of steps for you to follow. Let's give it a refresh on the page here. And let's open the chatbot again. Okay, this is the assistant message. This is hello, how may I help you? Let's say I need help with my password reset, or we can say I forgot my password, or I need help with my PC. Let's do that. And you see the message from the user was removed. So let's scroll down here. So that was when we got the response. So this is fine. We're adding the message fine, but then it's getting overwritten in here because we are adding the chat messages here instead of the just messages, which is what the user is seeing. So let's just set this to messages. Well, not there. That needs to stay like that because this is what we're sending to the OpenAI is on this line here. So just to make sure we updating this completely and there's no missing data, let's do previous messages just like we did at the top, arrow function, and then in here we're gonna pass the previous messages, and then the assistant, the new response, the new assistant message here. Let's give it another refresh just to verify everything again. Open this up. How can I help you today? I need help with my PC. All right, so we see the user message here and we get the assistant message in here. Okay, so I did a little mistake. Not there, but in the updating here. So, okay, so it says, of course, how can I help you? Let's say it's running slow, and let's hit enter. It's taking a little bit of time here. My computer is actually really slow. That's why I'm trying to debug in here too. But might be having issues with the OpenAI account. So okay, so we got a really long response, so we could make sure in the settings we could, when we make the request, we can actually tell how long we want the responses to be, like how many tokens. You can set that in here in the options you have when you accessing the completion API. But right now we got a message, we got a whole lot of steps in here, but this is fine. Let's do one more before we finish up. Let's say I need help tracking my package. Let's see, because it's very smart. It could just try to help you with things that not even part of the company, right? It's not a chatbot from UPS or FedEx. It's just a in general chatbot. It says, sure, I can help you. I'll guide you through the process of tracking. Here, look at the tracking numbers. So it's trying to help you find whatever you need. And it's going to ask you, it's going to give you examples of the different websites. So in here is just a very general chatbot, but in a next video, we can actually give this chatbot some context, so some knowledge base for your company, or for if you're designing a chatbot for a company or for a website, and you have like a list of questions that are normally asked, like Q&A, you have not a Q&A, frequent questions that you have. You can give that information to the chatbot, and the chatbot could actually check in there to look at the responses that it needs to give you. And if it doesn't find anything there, it will reach out to the internet and try to help the user as much as it can. So that's it for the video. We're gonna stop here, and if you're interested on learning how to add more context to the chatbot from like a list of fitting, giving some data to the chatbot so it can actually have a new knowledge base. We're going to do that in the next video. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.